And with that, it brings us into our first pay-per-view of 2021. Hey, we're back. I hope you missed us because we sure missed you. I'm Steve.
I'm Kia.
We are the hosts of On the Ring Apron, but, you know, we've taken a little hiatus during the end of the year to celebrate holidays, get us through, you know, the fun start of the year.
Yep.
Little ones starting to walk now. For those of you who haven't seen the videos, we got to make sure we post them up.
Yep.
But hey, we're back to wrestling, and we're finally back to pay-per-view season as we are just, as the little one would say, one sleep away from the road to WrestleMania. We actually started with you guys WrestleMania last year, and, you know, it kind of gave us, you know, a real good jump into doing this, so now it's fun as we start to take our first road into it.
That is true.
So we're going to see how it all goes, but a very jam-packed pay-per-view. Only 6 matches scheduled on the card right now. I'm sure there's going to be a kickoff match of some kind that we don't know yet.
That is
but
true.
At the end of the day, you know, we want to give you guys, you know, an exciting preview show as well as predictions, you know, as to who we're going to take.
I'm excited. This is one of my favorite pay-per-views. That, SummerSlam, WrestleMania, and Hell in a Cell. Those are my main 4 there.
This one's my favorite right here.
Why?
I love the entrances. I love the surprises. And for the first time in a long time, I truly have no idea where this one's heading.
Like,
you know, most of the time you at least have an inkling as to who might win. I've got no clue this year.
Like, I think the last couple of years, you've been spot on with all your predictions, and all your predictions have come true. So with this year, like you said, there's no way, because we have people who have been out of action, who have been pregnant and missing, who have just taken time to recover from injuries. You know, we just have, and that's on the men and the women's side of things. So for me, I think it's going to be exciting. You already know last year, I got excited for whose return? 2. I got 2 excited for.
Yeah, we have videos. We'll make sure we post them up. But Naomi's eventual return in the women's, and of course Edge. I mean, that got everybody stirring. No surprise this year. He's already made it clear he's going to be in it this year. But we'll get more to that in a little bit. But it's funny that you mentioned people being pregnant, because we have a little business to handle first. A very, very happiest of happy birthdays to the man. And now the mom, I guess, Miss Becky Lynch.
And let's not forget the last kicker, because that's what she started with first. So,
you know, I hope that wherever she's at right now, don't know if you'll ever see this, but, you know, we've met you, we've seen you, we've talked to you. You know, she wears the jacket proudly. Thank you, Kimber Last Kick. If you haven't seen her online, make sure you take a look at her profile. She's on Instagram, Twitter, all kinds of fun Becky Lynch stuff. There's nobody who probably knows Becky more than Becky and Seth do than probably Kim.
That is true. That's very true.
Outside of Seth and Becky herself, I don't think anyone knows her better than that.
Nope.
But a very happy birthday to you. I hope wherever you're at, I hope you're well, Seth's well, Rue is well. You know, and who knows? Maybe we'll see you tomorrow. Maybe fingers crossed a little bit. Maybe it's a pick for later, but we'll find out. So on to business. Let's talk Royal Rumble. For those of you who have never joined us before. First of all, where have you been? We put on good shows like this for every pay-per-view, also different shows throughout the week. So we actually just go through each of the pay-per-view matches and make our predictions after we give a quick little preview.
Not only do we make our predictions, we also give our explanations for why we make them, and we also want to hear from you, and are we right? Are we wrong? Are we in the middle of it? I mean, give us your feedback. What do you want to see? Who do you think's coming back? Why do you think they're coming back? And just speak with us.
Well, right now we're only looking at the possibility that we've only got maybe 4 pay-per-views left in this year. We've been keeping score as to who's been doing the best. Right now, I lead by a single point, 64-63. It's been real close, battling back and forth throughout the year, but I've got a slight edge heading into the Royal Rumble. We'll see if it ends up turning into anything.
It usually does. It flip-flops.
We've done that a couple of times this year. But let's get started. We're going to go with what we believe. Now, again, we don't know the actual order of the show, so we kind of go in the order that we predict that they're going to be. And we're going to begin with the Women's Tag Team Championship match, which will feature the current incumbent champions, which is Charlotte Flair and the Raw Women's Champion, Asuka, defending against the former champions, Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax. So you look at this, and this has really been a situation where, you know, Charlotte ended up doing what she always does, being in the right place at the right time, finishing her Grand Slam by getting a chance to tag with a person who has been one of her key rivals throughout the several years in the Raw Women's Champion, Asuka. But really since then, with the exception of a couple of notable defenses, they've kind of gone off and done their own separate things. Charlotte's having her issues with Lacey Evans and her father. Asuka's having trouble right now, not only with Nia and Shayna, but also some issues with Alexa Bliss as well, who has decided to target her for, you know, I guess, making fun of The Fiend, even though I'm not sure she did, but then again, I can't speak Japanese, so for all I know, she did.
If you look at it, even though we cannot understand, when she speaks in her actual, Japanese language, I honestly think she thought it was a joke and everything was fun because it was Alexa's playground. She wasn't meaning no harm. It was all in good fun. Alexa found it offensive because she was bringing up Bray or The Fiend, and that's what made Alexa want to target her. Because when Alexa brought her on, it was just going to be an interview. We're going to have a good time. That's going to be it. Then it kind of went a step further.
Well, you look at a match, when Charlotte and Asuka initially won the championships, they caught Nia and Shayna off guard. They had already had a match earlier in the previous week, and also not knowing who Asuka's partner was going to be maybe gave them a bit of a surprise advantage in having not knowing who that champion or challenger was going to end up being. This time, Nia and Shayna know exactly who's going to be showing up, know exactly what they're going to do, and also they're laser focused right now. They just beat Mandy and Dana earlier this week. They are absolutely laser focused. They have been taking out people left and right. Both are already getting themselves prepared for the Women's Royal Rumble match later that night. Charlotte is as well. So we have to wonder, maybe Asuka and Charlotte, do they have too much on their plate to handle this right now? They take it on too much.
I feel like, honestly, with these two, and these are some of the best of the best, I feel like there's a likely chance they may use what they're having to deal with outside of this storyline and everything that they're having to deal with, as far as she's dealing with Lacey Evans and her father, and she's dealing with Alexa, and technically she's dealing with The Fiend, but he's not there. They may use that and come in aggressive and, not, I wouldn't say angry, but more so aggressive, and may take these two out. These two women right here, Nia and Shayna, are powerhouses. Don't let their size fool you. They are beasts in the ring. They will go in, they will dominate you if you let them. Well, but there's one thing that, even though they're focused, and they may not be focused, I think we see a disqualification.
It's very possible.
You have to think, who were they degrading? Who were they putting down? Who did they put on the shelf?
Well, that's been virtually the whole roster,
but more so, they've been putting Lana down. Now, mind you, Lana, we hadn't seen her because they put her on the shelf on purpose to get her out of the way, to make sure they got their titles and got their, wins. And, Lana might be the reason these two right here retain. She might come back and say, you screwed me by putting me on the shelf, so I'm going to turn around and screw you. So I'm just saying.
We also have to wonder, before we get to our picks, when you look at people like Charlotte, Nia, and Shayna, also knowing that you've got the Women's Royal Rumble match, which has a much larger prize, a main event title match at WrestleMania, how much are they going to really put into this? Yes, winning the tag team titles is very important to all three of them, but Asuka's the only one who has to really sit here and say, this is the only match I've got tonight. Charlotte, Nia, Shayna, they know they have another match later that night because we anticipate this one will go first. So with that in mind, you can't sit here and go, okay, well, I'm going to give all out to this, because you've got to leave something in the tank for this, because you have no idea, except for them, what number you're going to draw. You got to leave something in the tank for what is a much bigger match later that night.
Here's my thing. These four women, I think, will be perfectly fine. Honestly, I've seen Charlotte is superior. She's one of the superior women outside of Bianca and Naomi, in my opinion. No offense against the other women, but honestly, if she can do it, I see Charlotte lasting through this whole entire match and then still going over there and maybe even winning that match. So
she has won it before.
She's queen. She's superior. She knows her abilities. She is confident. She does what she needs to do to get from one match to the next. Honestly.
So let's move to our official picks. You're currently trailing, so therefore you would go first.
Okay.
You have your pen?
Yeah, it's my back pocket.
Okay. So fire away. Who takes it?
I feel like, as much as I love these two women right here, and I really do, I have never met Shayna, but in the future, hopefully, if the pandemic ends, I'm going to say it. These two are going to use what they have from their other storylines, bring it to the match. They're going to dominate. I'm taking this team. Queen and Empress.
All right. I look at this, and I do feel like their other previous storylines could all potentially kind of glom into it, because you look at, you mentioned Lana potentially screwing over, Shayna and Nia. Well, you also look at someone maybe like a Lacey Evans or an Alexa Bliss who potentially could get involved to screw over the others. So just as easily as you could have a disqualification one way, you also could have a bit of underhanded tactics that cost them their titles because they've just taken on more than they could chew. Asuka, again, being the only one who can give her 100% focus into this. And honestly, I do believe that's going to end up being the difference, is because the other three in this match, even her own partner Charlotte, is going to have to remember to leave something in the tank up here for that Women's Royal Rumble match. Because Asuka is the only one who doesn't have to worry about having another match later that night, I think that's the slight edge, the slight difference. The experience factor plays a role. I agree with your pick. I do like Asuka and Charlotte to retain their titles.
Now,
here.
let me ask y'all a question. Do you think in this match, do you think that we'll see nice Asuka who's friendly, who talks all the time, or are we going to see not a face Asuka, but are we going to see a heel Asuka with knowing she has to win this match to her and Charlotte to retain, but at the same time with Alexa kind of setting her off and getting her kind of fired up, are we going to see heel?
Well, we've also talked about the Fiend's power of being able to manipulate people back into what was their best personas. Mm-hmm. Now that she's had direct contact with Alexa, mm-hmm. who clearly has Fiend powers.
Exactly.
Is she going to revert back to undefeated Asuka, mm-hmm. relentless back in NXT?
That's exactly
we'll
it.
We'll find out. We move on to our second of what will be 4 title matches that night, and this one is for the Smackdown Women's Championship. And probably the one that honestly has the most animosity, I would argue, of any of the 4. Maybe Owens and Reigns is up there.
Yeah.
But it will be the current champion. Let me get it right. The Standard, the Blueprint, the Boss, Miss Mandalorian, Miss WrestleMania, whatever you want to call her, the champion Sasha Banks against the untouchable one, Carmella.
The baddest on the block, honestly.
There you go. Sasha Banks, has proudly held her championship since she won it at Hell in a Cell back in October. Carmella, however, since the moment, within minutes of her winning that championship, has eyeballed Sasha and saying, you're not going to be champion, you don't deserve to be champion, I'm going to take that title off of you. And for the last 3 months, it has been Carmella that has been basically in Sasha's back pocket the entire time, but so far had yet to be able to get that one distinct win for the title over Sasha. During their one pay-per-view match at TLC they had a month ago, Sasha was able to survive out despite Carmella's tricks and outside interference from her sommelier.
Here's my thing. With this storyline right here, thank you. With this storyline right here, who has been here the whole entire time, injury and not? Who's been here the whole entire time? Literally.
Sasha.
Exactly. So Sasha has not only been here, she's been on TV, she's been doing The Mandalorian, she's been working to keep her body fierce, as y'all all seen the videos. I don't even have to explain.
Seriously, Sasha, sweetheart, I only have so much room on my phone, okay? I'm going to run out of space if you keep putting out all these pictures. It's wonderful. I love her Instagram.
What I'm saying is she's been here, she's been dominating, she's been doing what she's supposed to do. She's been, literally being the blueprint for the rest of the women's locker room on technically both brands, okay? But we have Carmella, don't get me wrong, I love her, I think she's great, she's come back, she's kind of gone to this, that's untouchable role. I think Sasha's got your number, and I think she's been able to touch you and beat you up and everything else, and not only is she beating you up, and she's trying to get you out of her head, she's getting into yours by literally, dominating your sommelier or whatever. Don't get me wrong, it's a great storyline, but I feel like the women have shattered glass ceilings all last year and the year before that, and what I feel is my opinion, y'all might see it differently. You have come back and you have a man to help you. You're pretty much having the women take a step back. I can understand, being a valet to a man, but I can also understand being a manager. I get it, okay? But the fact is, you're bringing a man to help you to do your job, to fight your battles most of the time. Or
Well, give Reginald credit. That was a hell of a match he put on with Sasha on Smackdown 2 weeks ago.
I'm not saying that it's not, but you are letting just this one storyline, in my opinion, is bringing the women's division back. Not the divas, the women's. And I feel like it's offensive to all these women right here and all these women right here who have shattered the ceilings, the glass ceilings, and done what they're supposed to. Not saying that Carmella hasn't. But to me, I think they could have gone a totally separate way with the storyline. Sasha is giving it credibility. I'm just saying.
Well, if you're playing the heel role, understanding that pissing people off is part of the job, and that's the idea. And the fact that you're getting the reaction that you're getting out of you right now means she's doing her job. She's doing it to perfection.
But to have a man help you, I've seen other heel women do it.
Isn't that how Carmella won her first 2 titles?
Yeah,
that's how she won Money in the Bank. Twice.
It should be different when you come back. It should be you have a new persona. Be different. That's all I'm saying.
But also, if it's not broke, don't fix it. Okay. Carmella has proven she can win with this formula. She can be champion with this formula. So, that's just a difference of opinion. That's the joy of things like this. So what do you think? Is Carmella kind of bending the whole, is she pushing the women's revolution maybe back a little bit because of the fact that she has Reginald in her corner, or is this a situation where she's playing the heel role perfectly and is, kind of, getting the reactions that you want? But at the end of the day, this is about the SmackDown Women's Championship, something that Carmella has been eyeballing for months. And I've been public on here that has said it is extremely rare that a person gets 3 separate shots at a title and doesn't win it on the 3rd try, because normally once you get to 3, if you don't win it then, you're moving on to something else.
Yeah.
So I have to believe this is Carmella's last shot at it, and this is a shot that really Sasha gave her, saying, I'm ready to be done with you. I've beaten you twice already for this title. I'm ready to be done. I took out Reginald, so now it's time for me to put you away so I can move on to bigger things like getting ready for WrestleMania.
I mean, but that's just how a boss rolls. She's not going to sit here and be afraid of something that is not a threat to her or her championship. She just looks at it as, all right, I'm done playing. This is kid games. I'm ready to move on to the big stuff, which is WrestleMania. So, who are you picking?
Going to the picks, I don't think there's really much cause for reason for debate on this one, because when they took on each other the first time, and maybe even partially the second time, Carmella had a couple of tricks up her sleeve, and an ace in the hole, whatever you want to call it, but each time Sasha was just a slight bit better. This time, games are done. She's, Carmella's not out here dancing. Carmella's not out here with wine bottles. She's out here, and she's going to have to out-wrestle Sasha Banks in order for her to win the championship, because at this point, the smoke and mirrors are gone. At this point, Carmella has to do it herself, and if it comes down to a pure wrestling match, one-on-one, the reality is Carmella cannot beat Sasha Banks. Sasha right now is operating on a level I haven't seen her in years, maybe ever, maybe since her NXT days.
Yeah.
She's operating on a level. She is ready not just to go to WrestleMania, but could be arguing, depending upon what happens up here, could be main eventing WrestleMania, depending upon how this goes.
Here's hoping.
Sasha right now doesn't look like she's going to be stopped in the women's division anytime soon, and it doesn't happen tomorrow. It's going to be Sasha Banks retaining the SmackDown Women's title.
In my opinion, Sasha has been one of the people that have learned how to control her emotions, and she's gotten better each and every time we see her, each match, each year. Now that she's got this championship and she's not letting go, I feel like Sasha has leveled up on so many different ways and so many different matches with so many different people, and she is one of the many people that will push you to your limits, and she will be okay with that, even if she has to sustain an injury herself. Boss, that's just how she does. Carmella, as we've seen on multiple occasions in multiple matches with multiple people with help from different people, if she cannot get it done, she loses her mind. She throws a tantrum, and Sasha has noticed that, and Sasha has been able to not only get in the Untouchable's head, but she's dealt with her sommelier and anything else you decide to throw at me. I think Sasha has, said, that's fine, I'm controlling my emotions, I'm keeping them in check. After you try to slam me and break wine bottles and spew wine in my face and all this other stuff, and you've tried to be underhanded and you've tried to use your sommelier against me, it's not going to work. I will always outsmart you, outthink you, out-wrestle you every step of the way. You're not taking my title, which it's taken a long time for her to actually be able to retain. I don't think that shit's changing. I don't. I think the boss holds on to it.
Figure your shirt probably gave it away. But,
yeah, it should have. I mean, it should have.
But it is what it is. So we both have, so far, 2 matches and 2 title defenses. Are we right so far? How are we doing? We move on to match number 3, our first of 2 world title matches, and one that, honestly, I think it may take longer for us to preview it than it would for the match to actually happen. It is for the WWE Championship, and it will be the current champion, Drew McIntyre, against the Hall of Famer, Goldberg.
It's not going to take me long to preview. I already have my vote.
The reality is anybody who has watched Goldberg in the last several years has to, first of all, be impressed with the fact that he comes in and is able to go out and accomplish the thing. And because of his Hall of Fame status is the reason why he gets to immediately jump into title pictures the moment he decides to return. It's benefited him because he has gone on to be the champion at WrestleMania 2 out of the last 5 years. So it's benefited him, very similar to people like Brock Lesnar, who has been able to come back and has been able to win championships and get into that main event of WrestleMania because he has not only earned that Hall of Fame status with his original full-time career, but then has maintained himself, maintained his charisma, and everything else as he goes along. But this may be the first time, maybe outside of Brock Lesnar, that Goldberg steps in the ring with somebody who is going to be just as fierce and just as angry as he is, in a Drew McIntyre, who right now is not only trying to defend his championship, but also trying to defend the pride of the locker room. Goldberg believes that Drew McIntyre insulted and disrespected the Legends when they came back on Legends Night. And that's why he called out Drew McIntyre for a shot at the title. Drew doesn't believe he disrespected anybody. Drew believes that he was honest and he was straightforward about exactly how he felt and his feelings on the current locker room. You're now all of a sudden seeing all this beef online about The Undertaker and Roman Reigns going back and forth because The Undertaker called the current status of the locker room soft and Reigns coming out and defending it. So you see a very similar storyline here where Drew is standing up for the company that he is the current champion of. And Goldberg saying, our generation was better. You know, old school versus new school. And that's kind of where it's tricky because likely the main event of WrestleMania is sitting on the line. Goldberg going for the one title he's never won.
My thing is, I with all the respect in the world, back in his decade, his era, his generation, for the people that watched him and enjoyed him and thought he was this and thought he was that and thought it was just he was great, that's fine. I respect that. But what you don't do is say that Drew, you know, because Drew is being truthful, Drew is being honest. I don't see him being any other way with anybody. I don't care who he's talking to. Didn't matter if it was Roman, didn't matter if it was Jay, didn't matter if it was Paul, doesn't matter if it's him, doesn't matter if it's the Legends. Drew is going to tell you how he feels, what he thinks, and he's not going to pull no punches. But he's going to do it in the nicest way possible. My opinion, I don't feel he disrespected any of the Legends whatsoever. But that's my opinion. I'm entitled to my opinion. Now, what I feel Goldberg did is I do feel like he kind of came back, and even though he felt like he was representing the Legends, and I loved them all of them, you don't sit here and say that someone else is being disrespectful because that's how you feel. Drew's not being disrespectful, he's being truthful. I feel like you came out for someone who's supposed to be on the sidelines, supposed to be a part-timer, and you're sitting here saying, you're disrespectful, you're not respecting the Legends, you're not respecting our people, you're talking down to them, so forth, so on. You're literally in his ring, in his face, sitting here telling him he's being disrespectful when he's already taken his lumps, had to come in, work, and then the fact that he didn't take it seriously the first time, he left, or they sent him out, he came back, he did what he needed to do, came back, and now he's holding a title that, to me, in my opinion, yes, Randy Orton held it for a little bit. I feel like this title that he's holding is his title. I cannot see it changing hands. I do not see it changing hands. And if it does, I honestly would feel like it's a slap in the face, not just to the locker room and these people here and these people here and like everybody on the roster across all brands. I feel like that'd be a slap in the face to put it on him. Now, everybody knows I do not like Brock Lesnar. Everybody knows that. But when I sit here and I tell you I would prefer it to be Brock that takes it off of him, you have to think Drew put him on the shelf, or whatever Drew did at the Royal Rumble, sent him away for some time. To say that I would like to see Brock Lesnar holding it instead of him, it's kind of a shocker in my opinion. But with that being said, I don't see Drew losing. I really don't. And I know it's bad because I know he's a Georgia boy and I'm supposed to be about my Georgia people, but I just think you need to go sit down, enjoy retirement, be a part-timer, come in, not win any titles. Y'all can feel how you want to. Am I wrong for this? Am I right for this? Tell me what you think. Go ahead. Sorry.
You good?
Yeah.
Good and calm?
I'm good.
Because she definitely, I don't know if y'all can feel it through the camera. I can feel her getting angrier by the second. She really has an issue with part-timers stepping in and taking the spots from people that have been here. We've heard Dolph Ziggler run the story for years about how these part-timers come in and right around Mania time, all of a sudden they come in and they jump the head of the line for these people that have worked all year.
Exactly.
But here's the counter to that.
What?
The people who jump the line, is it because they earned it back then? They earned the right to jump that line because they put in 10, 15, 20 years way back when. A person like Charlotte Flair, Sasha Banks. Charlotte Flair, 15 years from now, when she's retired, she's won, 25 championships, and she's retired and gone off for a couple of years, and then she comes back to challenge whoever is the women's champion at the time. Do you think that at WrestleMania they're not going to put Charlotte Flair right into that championship match because of her history and her pedigree?
And her last name, probably?
That possibly plays a role. So why is it any different for a person like Bill Goldberg? Now, I'm not sitting here portraying and giving off the idea that Drew is not a worthy WWE champion. He has taken on every challenger that has stepped in his way in the last calendar year, and he's beaten them all. He had that one little tiny slip against Orton, and he fixed it a couple of weeks later, which, good for him. He learned from his mistakes, and he figured out how to make things right for himself and for getting back the championship. He went toe-to-toe with the head of the table over on Smackdown at Survivor Series and gave everything he had and put on a great match against Roman, came up just a hair short. But so far, he has proven to be the champion that, honestly, the pandemic might have been the best thing to happen to his career because it gave us a chance to see Drew McIntyre in a light that maybe a lot of us had not seen him in before. So it really comes down to this. Because as I already said, honestly, the length of the match is probably already less than this preview. Yeah. Bill Goldberg comes in and he goes like a madhouse. He gives you everything he has and he fires everything off in about 3 or 4 minutes. But he's going to hit you with a ton of power. He's going to hit you with a ton of force. It comes down to, can Drew McIntyre survive that onslaught, because he knows what he's facing. He knows what he's going to get hit by when the match first starts. He knows it's going to hurt like hell. The question is, can he survive it? This is a person who's been battle-tested. This is a person who has gone with Brock Lesnar and taken on 2, 3, 4 F5s. Yep. He's gone up against people like Randy Orton, Keith Lee, other major powerhouses, and has found a way to get through it. He's smart and also has a great amount of charisma and stamina.
That's right.
But Bill Goldberg is a different beast. And anyone who knows me knows there are 2 people in all of wrestling history I do never pick against. The Rock and Bill Goldberg. So as much as I like Drew, and also, call a spade, who's running this company? He's going to want his dollar signs, especially with NBC and Peacock. And at the end of the day, he's the one who gets the final call, not us. As much as people are not going to like this decision, Bill Goldberg will be WWE Champion at the end of Royal Rumble.
All right, we'll see.
We will indeed.
But you're sitting here, and your question to me, or just in general, was, you think, all part-timers, once they've retired, should come back and win titles. No, I don't. Once you've retired and you're gone and you've done your speech and you've gone to Hall of Fame and you've been recognized, go. If you're coming back, come back to put someone over. That's it.
And maybe that's what Goldberg's here to do.
And take a title, too?
Doesn't necessarily mean he takes a title. Maybe he comes over to put over Drew.
We'll see.
It will. So we move on to our last championship match over on Smackdown. It is for the Universal Championship. And this one easily has the most anger and the most hurt feelings of any match that we're going to see at the Royal Rumble. It is the incumbent champion, which is the head of the table, the tribal chief, the Universal Champion, Roman Reigns. Taking on Kevin Owens.
Here's the thing. I love Roman. I really do. But, and everybody has pleaded, begged so much for him to be a heel. He is doing it to perfection. I've seen him heel with Shield. I've seen him face with Shield. I've seen him face period. And I'm seeing him heel now. Not saying that I don't love it. It took me some time to get into it. But I like the whole, him and Paul Heyman and Jay tried to plan it out to get Adam Pearce to be on this side of it. And then Pearce somehow comes up with an injury. And sits here.
An old nagging injury that I get every time you need me to clean the house.
That's on a daily basis. He's gotten better. He's gotten better.
These knees, they're just not what they used to be.
But I love the fact that, and for someone who's wrestled back in the day and doesn't want to wrestle and has tried to say this to Roman and Jay and Paul, I don't want to. I'm not ready. I'm not, I haven't exercised. I haven't trained. I haven't done any of that. And you sit here and Roman, we thought Roman had him. We thought he had him manipulated. Pierce was one step ahead, and I hate to say that for the tribal chief and the head of the table and the people.
And also for Heyman. Heyman's normally always the one that's at the front, but even he got beat out this time.
He got beat out, and what we saw is, I was like, because what did I say? I was like, do you really think he's signing his name, or do you think he's signing just something that looks like his name, but it's not even signing?
Well, card subject to change.
But so he goes up the ramp, and for the people that haven't seen it, go back, take a look on YouTube. He goes up the ramp. And he goes up the ramp and he's like, I've been waiting for you to do this. Just for him to say, this nagging injury, and for it to be none other than Mr. Owens. Did you see the look on Roman's face? He looked disgusted.
Well, he knew that he had been had, and he's been one step ahead of everyone, including the people running the show every step of the way until that night. Owens has been a person that is determined that he is not happy with having to be a part of Roman Reigns' Smackdown and being on the tribal island or whatever he calls it. The fact is, he's tired of Roman Reigns feeling like this is his personal playground and running the show. And on 2 previous attempts to beat Roman Reigns for the championship, it has been Jey Uso, who has stepped in and directly been the reason of Kevin Owens losing a match that he clearly had Roman Reigns beat. You now add in the last man standing stipulation, which basically allows for both parties to do whatever the heck they want with no limitations, no rules. Jey can get involved, whatever. The reality is someone loses when they literally cannot get back up again. And, these are two guys who can take a lot of punishment. This match could go a while.
But here's the thing, and you've stated it, and you even stated it earlier in our show, you have a person who is now going for his third time at Roman. I think, honestly, third time, you've had people interfere. I feel like Kevin Owens is sitting somewhere. He's thinking about everything he's had to endure over this Smackdown that Roman has created for him and all his people. And Owens is like, I'm not taking it. I'm not doing it. He keeps getting up and gets up and gets up and gets up. And he looks like he's gotten hurt. And the moment you think Kevin Owens is out, he gets up and he starts going some more. So for me, I feel like he is the Energizer Bunny. You're not going to stop him. You're not going to defeat him. You're not going to get him down. If you get him down, even for that night, he's going to come back and he's going to be twice as annoying. He's been a pain in Roman's ass. He's been a thorn in his side. Let's go ahead and call it for what it is.
So we move on to our pick. This one's mine up first. And the reality is, both parties are looking at this with a very clear picture. Not only is this for establishment of who runs SmackDown, but also they understand that a championship match at WrestleMania is sitting likely on the line for the winner of this match, very similar to Drew and Goldberg back here. There is a ton on the line. Roman having main evented WrestleMania 4 separate times prior to this. Kevin Owens has never been in the main event of WrestleMania. So it's something that he strives for. He also strives to win back the Universal Championship that basically he was part-timed out of a couple of years ago and lost his chance to go for the main event of WrestleMania when all he needed to do was survive one more pay-per-view. But the animosity and the anger between these two right now knows no bounds. So as short as this match is going to be back here, this one is going to be one that might tip the scales as long as these Rumble matches are going to end up being. The last man standing stipulation means we're going to see a lot of angry things. We're going to see a lot of nasty things. And it also means we're going to see a lot of pain between these two. We know both can handle it. They know that both can dish it out.
And they both can take it.
Who has that one last little slip that ends up costing them everything? And the reality is the tribal chief is not going to show up without having that backup plan. That plan B, that plan C, whatever you want to call it. Owens has been perfectly fine fighting alone. He's even said himself, I've made many enemies in my time because of the way I choose to be. But he wouldn't have it any other way. Unfortunately, it's bit him in the rear end a few times, and it's going to bite him again here. There's going to be too many people hiding behind Roman. Ultimately, Owens may be the better of the two that night, but Roman will have enough people behind him that he will secure his status as the head of the table. It will be Roman Reigns retaining his Universal Championship.
Okay, you've made your spill. I get it. It's going to be Roman because Roman's going to have Paul, Jey, and all the rest of his family, maybe. But Kevin Steen, I've seen him before he even got to WWE and before he even came into what is WWE. And, I feel like he, as much as Landon's going to hate me for saying this or he's not going to like it, he was the one on NXT that came in from NXT, was down there, less than 6 months, 6 months to a year, came up and faced John Cena and beat John Cena, and he did it. He did it.
He was not happy that night when Cena lost to Owens on his first night.
No, and I just rubbed it in on purpose. My thing is, Kevin Owens, as he has been by himself, alone, not needing any help, not wanting any help. He has fought his own battles and he's done it on his own. And yes, like I said, you've gotten him down and you got him beat. And I feel like there's going to be hostility, there's going to be anger, I think he's going to be able to control his feelings and his emotions. And I think, little do I know, at any point in time, anybody, in my opinion, and this is just a long shot, I feel like Jimmy might be the key. I feel like I don't know if he's recovered or not, but even if he's not recovered, I feel like Jimmy might sit here and might come in and might, out of shock, surprise everybody and help Kevin and say, I'm tired of seeing this storyline. I'm tired of you, you don't run the show, so forth, so on. It's ridiculous. and he might be the person that helps him. Again, Kevin Owens may not be expecting it and may take advantage of that fact. But I don't see Roman retaining, and as much as I love him and great, and he's been a heel and whatnot, I see, to me, he's like Dean Ambrose. He is the person that keeps getting up after he keeps getting knocked down. My choice will be Kevin Owens. Hands down. He will keep his emotions in check for this match, and he will get the victory.
Fantastic.
Third time's the charm.
Yep, again, I've said it already. It's hard to get 3 title shots and not get it done. So, that takes care of our 4 championship matches, which now moves us to what we believe will be the 2 main events, co-main events, if you will, of the evening, and those are the Royal Rumble matches themselves.
Yeah.
There's not much preview that you can really give to this because everyone knows how a Royal Rumble match works. You start with 2 people, every 90 seconds, 60 seconds, 2 minutes, whatever time limit they choose, another person enters until all 30 people have entered the match. You go over top rope, both feet touch the floor. Naomi, Kofi Kingston, they have put on shows. Casey Catanzaro have put on stellar performances in finding ways to avoid that. But the reality is only 1 woman and 1 man on the roster can earn the right to be called Royal Rumble champion. And, of course, the biggest prize of them all, and that is a guaranteed main event championship match against any champion of your choosing at WrestleMania. So, basically, we will know by the end of the night who will be the first 2 people heading to WrestleMania. We'll begin with the women's, which, again, we have a number of names that have already entered themselves in, such as Bianca Belair, the Riot Squad, Nia and Shayna, Charlotte, Bayley, Alexa Bliss, Mandy Rose, Dana Brooke, you know, amongst others. There are going to be a number of other people. Also, potentially a few surprises. But, you know, you never know what's going to happen in these types of matches. So there's not, you know, really much preview other than kind of just gut feelings because so many things can happen. No disqualifications. So, you know, anybody can come in, throw someone out of the ring. It's perfectly legal. It sucks, but it happens. You have people who get thrown out that then come back in and throw someone else out. It happens. You know, so it really just comes down to who is going to be the person that is going to draw the right number, be in at the right time, and then find a way to be able to navigate your way through all the chaos. So, we have elected for the Royal Rumble. We tend to kind of throw one special twist into all of our pay-per-view previews. We've elected that we're going to do 2 things each. First, we're going to still make a selection as to who we think is going to win. But then we're also going to pick a number between 1 and 30. And whoever we get for that number, whoever comes in at that number, is going to be who also we're going to take. So we technically will have 2 people, unless the person we pick just happens to be that person as well. So, with that being said, Kia will get first choice in the Women's Rumble match. You have a person that you'll pick. First of all, who does your gut feeling think? And then you'll also take a number between 1 and 30 as to what number you'd also like to have.
Okay, so with that being said, every woman that's on this poster, and there's plenty that we haven't seen or we don't know. We have plenty that have been out, injured, pregnant, you know, who've been resting up, you know, curing nagging injuries, so forth, so on. But these women right here that's on the vignette have been on fire. Every woman. I'm going to tell you.
They have made every person on both sides look extremely strong going into this.
Well, I'm just like, right now, like the Riot Squad, they can't lose. Shayna and Nia, even though they're 2 separate entities and they fight with each other, they're about destruction and pain and making that other team, whoever you are on that side, feel what we can do. Dana has been pushed. About time they're giving her credit for where, you know, she's not just a pretty face, but they're finally using her muscle and her brute, and not only that, they're using her beauty. And then you put Mandy Rose with her, and then it's just a double boom. There you go. Charlotte, we know, she's tough, she's superior.
And the defending champion.
Bayley, ding dong, hello. She has held on to the women's Smackdown title for a long time. I'm not going to even say a number. That's your thing.
380.
I told you.
You know I know it.
And then Bianca, she's EST. This is my girl. I feel like if I have to relate...
What a show she put on last year.
I feel exactly.
And Shayna both.
Exactly. If I had to pick...
Which you do.
My gut feeling, I mean, in everything sane, is I would either pick Bianca or I'd pick Shayna.
But you can only take one.
I'm not going to root or vote or pick against the EST.
You're taking Bianca.
Yes. if y'all can see that, and I'm writing backwards, you guys.
That's fine. Okay, so Kia is taking Bianca Belair.
Yep.
Okay, so, and that's the part of the fun, is the fact that the person who ultimately may end up winning this match may not even be officially announced.
That's right.
Because you look at people that could potentially return, such as Becky Lynch, Ronda Rousey, Michelle McCool, people like that, who you could pick them and they equally could win. They are just as likely to win the match as they are to maybe not even appear.
What about
You just
Mickie
truly
James?
don't know. You look at someone like a Mickie James, someone else who, you potentially don't look at. So you kind of have to just go with your gut here. And as I said already, this is the first time in years that I go into a Rumble with truly no idea. Not because there isn't a good storyline out there that's possible, but there are so many that could be out there that I could see them running with to WrestleMania. Bayley and Sasha, Bianca and Sasha. You look at Alexa versus Asuka, who have already had wars with each other. You look at Nia and Shayna potentially running through the tag division, but also one of them going for a major championship. Is the Riot Squad going to have their team possibly tested when they're in the Royal Rumble? Because again, you talked about all these teams like Mandy and Dana, Nia, Shayna, Riot Squad. Remember, it's every woman for herself. Teams will only last so long, but eventually at some point it's going to come down to brass tacks and y'all got to figure things out. So looking at the entire thing and just kind of going with my gut feeling on this, and I've got nothing else to go by other than that, my pick for the Women's Rumble is going to be Alexa Bliss. Honestly, I just see Alexa being at a level where it is time for her, especially with her now having this portrayal of having the Fiend powers and everything else, and also getting screwed over by Randy Orton out of a chance to win a championship. Well, this is how now you guarantee your championship match back. So, Alexa Bliss is going to end up being my pick. Now, I have to pick first in terms of the number that I'm also going to take, and I'm going to take number 22.
Ooh.
No other reason I like the number 2, that's what I'm going to go with. Kia, your number?
Here's my thing. And unofficially, these two, and this is what I was meaning to ask you, these two have unofficially been going head-to-head against one another. Do we see Bianca and Bayley technically working together? Because they've been trying to one-up. Do we see them working together and getting the win?
Temporary alliances happen all the time.
Yeah. You say 22? I would have to say, I'm going to pull for whoever 28 is.
28.
Yes. Out of the gate.
And hope it's not Santina Marella.
Oh, fuck.
Hey. We're on Instagram. We can't say those things. So now that moves us into our final pick, which is basically same match, but it's for the men's division. Same ideal, same rules. Championship match sitting at WrestleMania against either the Universal Champion or the WWE Champion or potentially the NXT Champion. Charlotte set the new standard last year, so even Finn Balor's going to have to maybe be paying a little bit of attention. Maybe Finn shows up.
What about Adam Cole in a dispute? I can see them showing up.
Exactly. So you look at some of the names that have already thrown themselves in. You look at, of course, Edge and Randy Orton have already put their names in. Miz and John Morrison, Otis, Shinsuke Nakamura, Cesaro, Bobby Lashley, AJ Styles, Daniel Bryan, Mustafa Ali, and the rest of Retribution. I mean, honestly, I think about 17 or 18 of the slots have already been officially declared. So again, it's very similar to the women's match. Right place, right time, and who's the one that can kind of move their way through that traffic. So, moving to the pick here, because again, very similar to the women's match, it's one of those situations where, it's, again, so many possible great storylines. You look at someone like Orton, who's already been champion once in the last year. Is this his culmination as he goes for championship number 15, which moves him right up that chart? You look at Edge. Does the comeback story finally happen? You look at Daniel Bryan, who this is the one dream that he hasn't fulfilled yet.
What about Mustafa Ali?
You say it right. Mustafa,
what about him? He was screwed. He's letting everybody know that he's been screwed in the past. He was put on the shelf. He was injured. He was hurt. He's come back, and you did not expect him to be the leader of Retribution. I expected Miz. I thought it was Orton for the longest time. I thought it was Nakamura for the long time. You come back. You don't understand. You didn't even know it was him, and it shocks everybody. He's
angry because Kofi Mania 2 years ago basically happened because of him. He got injured. And then, of course, you count on a person like AJ Styles, who made his debut at the Royal Rumble and did very well. Is it finally his time to shine and get back a shot at a championship?
Who knows?
So you look at everything that's going here. You look at potentially who they could face, whether you're looking at Drew McIntyre, Goldberg, you're looking at Roman Reigns, Kevin Owens, you're looking potentially at Finn Balor, or whoever might be sitting at the other end in NXT. Again, nothing more to go on than just gut feeling. I'm actually going to take Big E, the Intercontinental Champion.
Why?
Because I feel like they're going to give him that Kofi type of push.
Yeah.
He has been a person who every step of the way has done exactly what the company has asked him to do.
Yes,
and despite the fact that he has had all this power in NXT, a former NXT champion, the second NXT champion.
After Seth.
You know, and you look at everything that he's done, but he has been willing by choice, mind you. It's not because the company asked him to, but because he is such good friends with Kofi and Xavier, both on story and in real life, that he wanted to be part of that tag team background, even though he knew it would cost him the opportunity to have singles glory. But injuries to Kofi Kingston and ultimately, you know, the draft split and everything else has allowed Big E to finally get his opportunity to make that push. He's won the Intercontinental Championship now, but I feel like a dream date at WrestleMania in his hometown of Tampa against the Tribal Chief Roman Reigns with no New Day behind him. He has to do it all on his own, but you give him that great push in front of his hometown, similar to what you gave Naomi in Orlando a few years ago. And you give him that great moment because he has been so selflessly willing to play, basically, you know, the jokester of the group. And I think he does that very naturally. I think it's time for him to finally get that main event push that we all expected him to honestly have years ago.
Yeah.
Big E wins. He's going to have to drop the IC title likely at some point between now and Mania. Or maybe he wins both. We'll see.
I mean,
but I'm going Big E, and I'm also still sticking with 22.
You want to go big?
Then say that.
There you go. The fact is, Big E has come in, and you're right, he's been the jokester, he's been funny, he's been a bodyguard, he's been a bodyguard to AJ Lee and Dolph Ziggler when he first came in. He won. He was the second person, like you said, who won the NXT title after Seth did. He has done everything, no question, no ifs, ands, or buts. He has gyrated, he has sold food, he has hopped on top of the ring. He's just, at this present moment, he's going up against Sammy because Sammy feels like he was wrong. Sammy feels like, you know,
I'm another name of a person who might shock the world and win.
He might shock him. We saw what he did when he came back. My thing with this, I could pick anyone across the board just in this match. I see Miz. Miz has done great things in this company. He has been at the top of the top and gone against everybody and has taken out almost everybody now and in the past. So there might be a chance that, as much as I hate saying it, he will take out everybody and probably win, but that's not my pick. My pick is going to be the person who's been on fire, literally, and who's had fire, you know, blown in his face on purpose. Randy Orton is a vengeful son of a bitch. And as much as people might not like me saying it, it's true. I'm spitting facts.
Orton would, and if you do take Orton, he'd be only the second person ever to win 3 Rumbles in his career, joining Austin.
There you go. He has been set on fire. He has had fire blown in his face. He has had to deal with Little Miss Bliss, who has channeled these powers, here's what I said. He gave this girl, this young woman, compassion and did not set her on fire, even though she begged and pleaded and asked. When has Randy Orton ever showed anybody any compassion?
Guarantee it won't happen again.
He made the mistake, and he even said it in his promo. I gave her the compassion. I tried to be understanding, but now I'm not. And so I think he's going to take everything he's had to deal with The Fiend and Bray and Alexa and all these mind games, and I think he's going to take, you know, the burnt effect, everything else. I think he's going to be the snake, the vengeful viper that we all know, and he's going to literally run roughshod through everybody. Doesn't matter if you're coming back, doesn't matter if you're coming from NXT, it doesn't matter if you're coming from Smackdown, it does not matter. He will bite the head off of everybody. My pick, I'm sorry. No, I'm not sorry. I'm not. My dude. And he will RKO anybody in his way.
Okay, and your number? You sticking with 28 or going to go with something different in the men's?
Oh, you said I had to keep.
I chose 22 for both.
We'll go 25 for me.
25 for the men's.
Yeah.
Alrighty. And maybe that's Orton too. Maybe get double.
Hey.
So, that is our official picks for Royal Rumble. Did we get them right? Did we get them wrong? You know, but the reality is we're looking forward to a fun evening. The fact is we're back. We've been gone a little while. We've missed you guys. We're going to be back with our, our regular shows as best as we can. A top rope, not top rope spoilers, but a plate exchange coming up immediately following Royal Rumble tomorrow night. So be on the lookout for it because we haven't had a chance to officially change out the women's tag titles yet. And maybe a couple of more, or maybe the tag titles are going to go back to the way they were, on a previous episode. So we will end up seeing. But Kia's going to take us home here. I'm going to switch sides with you. And hey, the countdown's on. Quite literally, less than 24 hours. Guys, let's take us home, Kia, so we can go watch backstage.
I'm hungry. As much as I'd love to stick around and talk to you people, I'm not. I also know that this will probably be my last pay-per-view for a long time because I start work on Monday. Finally, 2 years and I get to work. Adult conversation is needed.
By choice, though.
By choice. So with that being said, I love you. I hope y'all enjoy the Royal Rumble. I will try to do everything in my power to get back into my shows. Not going to make any promises. But with that being said, enjoy. We look forward to hearing from you. Bye.